Hello, welcome to the Fostoria Intermediate concert. This is the 5th and 6th graders. We're still making a couple of adjustments over here, so I'm going to go ahead and get started, and we'll start playing music in just a second. This is, for all of these 5th and 6th graders, this is their first time being on this stage, so this is a very exciting time for them. I know that some of them were very nervous, but the good news is they really can't see you, so they don't, for all they know, there's no one here. This is the 5th graders to start off, and you'll notice a couple differences from the fall concert if you were there. First is that our percussionists will be playing two different instruments. They're going to start off on a drum or a drum pad, which is a quieter version of a drum, invented especially for parents. And then partway through, they're going to switch to bells. So you'll be able to see them showcasing some of their multiple skills that they've learned. And you'll also notice that the songs that the 5th graders are playing are a little bit more complex than those that they played at the beginning, and rightfully so. So we're going to start off with one called Star Search, which should be a familiar tune to you, and hopefully you enjoy it. Partway through that song, we switched it out so that at one point we had only the brass playing, and at another point we had only the woodwinds playing, so hopefully you could tell a little bit of a difference there. The next one is called London Bridge. Now, with that song, we had just learned something called dynamics, which is varying loud and softness when we play. And hopefully you could hear a couple measures of loud, and then a couple measures of soft, and a couple measures of loud, and a couple measures of soft. That was the goal. The next one is called Dynamic Doodle All Day, and it takes Polly Wolly Doodle, the theme, and it adds some dynamics in here. So now we're actually going to have 4 different levels of dynamics, and it should get a little louder as each couple measures goes on. So hopefully you can hear that when we play this one for you. The next one is called Oh Susanna, another one that you might be able to recognize. And this is actually a duet, which means we have two different parts playing at the same time. And we'll have some instruments on one line and some on the other. Maybe you'll be able to pick out which instruments are playing together and which ones are playing something different. Now the percussionists are switching their instruments for the next one. They're switching to the bells now. And this song is called Shoe Fly. And with this song, we learned about accents. And an accent is one note that is a little bit louder than the notes around it. So they learned, along with dynamics, how to play accents, and that's just differentiating between loud and soft for a short time. And if you'll excuse us for one moment, the next song is actually a featured song by some of the students, and I'll explain that in just a moment, but in the meantime, I need to let some of them leave the stage. Towards the middle here, so you're all one. All right, now the next group features all of Mrs. Lewis's class, and all the other classes had an opportunity to audition to participate in this. This song is particularly difficult, and it's a little bit beyond what we were doing in our normal class stuff, so I wanted to offer a challenge to some of them if they were up for it. And they didn't have to, so some of them just simply chose not to, which is perfectly fine. But these kids put in a lot of extra work on this piece, and so I wanted to make sure that they got to show that off for you. And unfortunately, not all of them were able to be here today, but the ones that are, this is what I've called the Red Band. Ready? that one was called Crown of Majesty, and it actually had every single instrument playing its own independent part. So this is actually on par with some of the stuff that the 6th graders and 7th graders are doing. So an extra round of applause for them and for all the 5th graders. All right, now we welcome to the stage the 6th grade band. They will present you with 4 songs. As we get older, we do less songs that are bigger and meatier with each song. So the 5th graders had a couple more songs, but they were short. These are a little bit longer and more complicated. The first one we're going to play is a familiar song called Yankee Doodle. And this is the first time they're playing an actual full-length page of sheet music. And these percussionists will be doing something similar. We'll be starting off on one instrument and then switching out to another, except we'll have some people on drum and some people on bells all at the same time. All right, the next one is called On Caribbean Shores, or Marianne. And this one is supposed to have a tropical sort of sound and feel to it. All right, the next one is Camptown Races. And we're going to give the percussionist should be switching now, and they'll play whatever instrument they weren't playing before. And for our last song, we're going to end it with one called Rock the House, which obviously has a rock blues sort of sound to it. And I think that they really enjoy this one, and hopefully you will enjoy that one as well.
we're still working on building up our endurance. So a couple of these are a little long, so I'll let them catch their breath for just a second. All right, this is our last one. This is Rock the House.
right, that's the last thing that we have for you. I'm Mrs. Kleva. I don't think I said that in the beginning. I'm the assistant director here. Mr. Kaufman, who is helping out with the kids over there, he is the head director. And if you don't have plans today, you can check out the artwork in the gym if you haven't done so yet. Lots of students worked really hard on those art projects, including some of our elementary kids, actually, I think are over there. And the junior high will be playing at 4 o'clock, so shortly, and we invite you and encourage you to stick around and listen to the 7th and 8th grade bands. And otherwise, enjoy your Sunday.